What is going on, everybody? Welcome in. It's the Wager Alarm live stream. I'm Howard Bender. With me, of course, Craig Mish. Craig, happy Super Bowl. Almost. It's coming up in just 2 days, man. How excited are you?
I'm really good. I'm just saw this big baseball story here, just trying to get to the bottom of all this stuff. But yeah, it is great to be talking Super Bowl with you on top of Ozuna re-signing with the Braves. So, but yeah, we'll focus on that tonight. Props, you and I have loved doing this the last few years to kind of review and go through some of them. I'm a big fan of a few of yours. You've looked at some of mine too. I think between the two of us, we have identified a total of 10, or is it 10 or 11? I think we got 11.
You know what? I don't know because I actually have another one that I didn't even send you that
Oh,
I'm going
okay.
to piggyback off of one of yours. So either way, we've got at least 10,
Gotcha.
possibly 12 even.
Okay. So the rule of thumb with the props is as follows. It's a lot of fun every year. We talk about this that there's always going to be some props that are going to be very winnable, and you really can take advantage of these, of course, with everything that Howard does over at Fantasy Alarm. It does a lot of fantasy, so you would just have to assume in terms of some player totals and things like that, you're always going to have an edge with somebody like Howard who does this every single day. But on top of that, what happens is, especially on some of the offshores and even on FanDuel and DraftKings, is that the what people say, Howard, is that when you go to Vegas, and in the past it was only Vegas, as we know, and you would go into a sports book and you would look at all of the props up there, right? All the props on the board, whatever hotel you went, Caesars, Venetian, you name it. I've been there before for the Super Bowl. There's always a couple that are great and they're really winnable. But Howard, you know what the problem is at that point, right? The problem is
The problem is that prop bets, Craig, they're like potato chips. You can't just bet one.
you can't do it. It's the Pringles jar. You get your hand stuck in it. You get your hand stuck.
Pull a stack out about that big, and you
That's the
just
problem. That's the problem with the props. There's a lot of very winnable ones, but no one can just bet one. If everyone feels like they have to bet a lot. People asked me last year, they'll ask me again this year, how many will you bet on? How many will you do? 10 is sort of my rule of thumb, and I don't know what people's bankrolls are. I can't certainly manage that, but I'm guessing, maybe somebody has a $200 bankroll, the Super Bowl, or $500 bankroll, $1,000 bankroll. 10% on each one out of 10 seems to be the right number. And the one thing that I did not do this year, Howard, I don't know if you have any of these. Maybe you can give me one that you'd like to throw a dart, because I did not. Usually what I do is I'll throw like a 5-1 or a 6-1. I don't know. I didn't feel any this year. I didn't really feel like a first guy scoring the touchdown or something like that. I don't know. Did you feel strongly about any of those this year?
I can't say that I felt strongly about any of them. I mean, obviously, I looked at them, and listen, I do props the same way. There'll be a ton of props that I'll bet on, and let's say I start off with $200, and what I'll do is I'll throw $10 on each prop for 10 of them, and then and maybe I'll go $20 on like five more, and do it that way. And I just kind of play around with it. But yeah, there are some where I just do it because I want to have fun. Like I'll just give you one that I'm not, I'm gonna bet it only because I just want to have fun betting it.
Right, right.
And that's Anthony Sherman,
Oh,
the
right.
fullback with an anytime touchdown.
What do you got on that?
On DK Sportsbook, it's plus 2,200. Andy Reid, he loves his gimmicks. He loves his fun stuff like that. Now, there obviously people talk about, well, maybe it's like a tackle eligible situation with the problems that the Chiefs are having on their offensive line right now, losing Eric Fisher and then kind of switching guys around. I'm less inclined to think that he's going to do something gimmicky with the offensive line and instead end up with like an Anthony Sherman wheel route. Mahomes hits him on a short TD. And you know what? To throw $10 on a plus 2,200 prop like that, just to have fun, just to take a shot, take a chance, that's what I'm doing. But, as far as, anytime touchdowns or other guys scoring first or
Mhm.
whatever, I think it's probably somewhere in like the plus 500 range is the
Gotcha.
highest I was looking, the highest.
Okay. Yeah, the only one, and we'll just, I just want to mention it, and then we'll get into the ones that I really like a lot. I do like a
Mhm.
lot this year, not 10. but I do like a bunch. The only one that I thought, Howard, where I could throw that dart was, did I do this in this one? No, I don't think I included it. I backed out. Was the first sack of the game.
Oh, okay.
The player for the first sack of the game. So let me
Frank Clark.
Yeah, he's 5-1. That's not bad.
Bad.
Yeah.
That's not. I like that one. I do like that one.
5-1. I felt high. I thought I was looking at like 3-1, and it was 5. And I think Kansas City's going to sack Tampa first.
Sure.
I don't know why I think that, but anyway, I have that. In fact, that's one of the props I do have. Anyway, I'm glad you mentioned that. That was the same one that I was looking at, and that was the only one that I came close on anything that were long shot odds. But if you like, we can start into it here. I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 props.
You have 8, and then I added in another 4 here, so I've got another 5. So we have lucky 13.
Perfect. So the goal will be going 7 and 6. Of course, you're just trying to get above 500, make a little money. Except for one of my props, unfortunately, is the same one that we won last year and the same one we won the year before. So I'm going back to it again. It's a minus 165. So I'm going to bet this every year until we lose.
Oh, I love that. Is that the penalties pop?
Yeah, we win that one every year.
Start off with that one.
We win that one every year. but the juice is so high, it's like so high. So total accepted penalties in the game, 11.5. I got the under 11.5 in this one. Historically speaking, there are not a lot of penalties called in the game. I think if you look at the last 5 years, it's gone under 4 out of the last 5 times. Can't remember which Super Bowl, but there was like a second half, and I can't recall which one. I don't think that it was the one where the Rams lost against New England. I forget which one, but it was one where the penalties just piled up in the second half. It's a game where nobody wants to see penalties decide it. And in terms of penalties for both sides, they're not heavily penalized offenses. They are somewhat penalized defenses, but the offense really don't have any penalties on either side of the ball for these. So it would be pass interference, it would be offsides, things of that nature. I think we could get 10 here. I think that's possible, but a 15 penalty game in a Super Bowl during a pandemic that the world is going to be watching just doesn't add up. And if we're going by anything that we've seen in the last few games, with the exception of that late call in the Packers game where they called that flag, almost after the play, we're seeing them play these games without penalties. So that's why the juice is so high. Not the number. The number is about normal, but that's why the juice is so high at minus 165. So our first one will be total accepted penalties under 11.5 at minus 165. And by the way, I understand laying 165 to win 100 is not wise, and that's the only one out of all of these that is like that. So keep that in mind. I would never advise doing 5 or 6 like this.
No, I mean, that's one of the things. I mean, it's what you're looking for in general. I mean, yeah, if you want to do like a minus 110 here and there for some over-unders, that's fine. But yeah, I generally look at, plus 100, plus 120. If I can get up like plus 130, I'm pretty happy there. Once you start hitting like the plus 200 range, even the plus 180, you're kind of erring on the side of hoping rather than thinking, this is really the way it could happen based on potential game flow. So I'm with you on that. None of the ones that I've thrown out, I think plus 120 is actually the highest of my props that I
like that one, actually.
All right. Well, then I'll lead with that one there, and I'll give a shout out to my man Adam Ronis for this prop. It's just one of those things that comes up in the conversation of what you expect for game flow. First quarter score total in the first quarter under 10. It's plus 120 over at the DK Sportsbook. And I got it's BetMGM. That's where it is. It's BetMGM.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I'll tell you what, one of the reasons why we both really do like this, this prop, Chiefs have been notorious slow starters.
Yes.
Notorious slow starters. And if you go back and you look at the games that they've played, even last year's playoffs, this year's playoffs, the Chiefs don't get out to this raucous start. You take that aspect and you couple it with the fact that I really do believe that the Bucs are going to try and run the ball with Fournette pretty heavily in this first quarter. How many times have we seen, Craig, Tom Brady march down the field, a very slow, methodical drive? It chews up a lot of clock. Whether they come away with points or not, they're still chewing up, a good 8 minutes at least on the clock just right from the start of the game there. So that's why I think, at plus 120, I really like this under 10 because you're given a field goal, not a touchdown. You're allowing a touchdown to happen there. And I think that'll work. So that's the first prop that I'm really in on.
Yeah, for whatever reason, Andy Reid's scripted plays in the first quarter. I suppose they say that every team does that, and I don't know specifically if Reid does, like almost every other team. But I will say this: you're right. They do start slow. They run the ball a lot in the first quarter, and then it's like they stop completely the rest of the game. It is very odd, but this is one in particular that I do like, and the juice is nice here. 100 to win 120. I think the total in the game could certainly still go over 55.5, even with a low scoring first, and you're getting plus money here. So I'm with you. And in general, these Super Bowls do start slow and finish fast. So I do like that one as well. I'm with you and Adam on that.
All right. Next one for you.
Okay, Leonard Fournette over 47.5 rushing yards. Fournette over the past month and into the playoffs has been the guy. This reminds me so much, and I don't want to make the same mistake that I made 2 years ago with C.J. Anderson and Todd Gurley. It reminds me of the same thing where I said, how can Todd Gurley not play in the Super Bowl? It's ridiculous. And here I am coming on live streams like this saying over on the yards and over on the receptions, and he's healthy. What is it? Nuts. It's Todd Gurley. He's got to play. Same thing. Going the other way this time. Fournette has been the guy. Fournette has been the one that they're using. You're telling me all of a sudden that in the Super Bowl they're going to pivot to Ronald Jones? I don't think so. This number started off at 43.5. I don't even know if you're going to be able to get 47.5 by the time the game starts on Sunday. This is one of my favorite ones. Looking into it a little bit deeper, the other thing that Fournette has shown over the past few games too is the ability to break a long run, 15 or 20 yards. We saw one like that last week. So Ronald Jones will have his day. And Howard, that day is going to come next year. Because another good reason for this one, and don't rule anything out for Fournette, he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season. He's on a one-year deal. So not to say that everybody doesn't show up in the Super Bowl, but this guy is going to show up. He could get a monster payday with a huge game. He could be the number one running back free agent in the NFL with a big game. I'm going over 47.5 yards for Fournette. I think he's in line, regardless if they win or lose, Howard. I think he's in line for a big game.
I do think he's in line for a big game as well. I like the over on this. I'm going to piggyback your prop with my prop. Leonard Fournette over 3.5 receptions. If you look at the targets that he's seen in the last several games, I think he's averaging like 5.5 to 6 targets, and he's coming away with the catches. It's 4 catches here, it's 5 catches there, it's 4, it's 3. So I like this. Again, I think part of this being a nice methodical drive, structure that Brady wants. You could go second half, you can go shootout, that's fine. But Brady just I think he wants to move the chains. I think he wants to control the pace of the game, and dump offs to Fournette are going to be likely, especially when you look at the fact that the coverage has been solid from the Chiefs secondary, and early on in the game until Brady sees the weaknesses that he can exploit, he's got no problem checking down to Leonard Fournette. So give me the 3.5 over,
like that
for receptions.
Yeah, I'm in on Fournette this game. I don't. Howard, I don't view Arians as the McVay, I'm going to show these guys and not do what got us here. Like, I don't think that all of a sudden Ronald Jones is now going to flip spots with Fournette. I don't see that. So most Fournette props, I'm in on the over going into it.
And it's also, you look at the way that this team has been coached. You've seen what they've done. And Brady has a tremendous amount of influence on this offense. And Arians respects the fact that Brady's done what he has done in his career. Brady's taken what he's learned from Belichick in New England, and he's brought it over there. And I think, Arians, who we know is all about the risk it for the biscuit, type play, Brady said, Brady shows him this is how you win games. And you don't have to just keep chucking the ball downfield. to try and catch the defense on, as a surprise. So yeah, I like Fournette for a good game here as well. I'm in on that.
Yeah, no, I'm in agreement there. Okay, so this is one that there's really not a lot of data to back up. This is sort of a feeling. I like to be honest and not do 15 props and throw all the data out at you, Howard. And look, if there have been blowouts in the Super Bowl, okay? And by the way, Atlanta had more than a 14-point lead on New England a few years ago too. But I have an under here on the largest lead of the game of under 14.5. Meaning that at no point in the game will one team will be beating the other by more than 2 touchdowns. Am I missing something here with this one? I don't know. I feel like it's going to be a close game. I feel like it's going to be a back and forth game. But what it's telling you is that the offenses are so good, Howard, that clearly Tampa or even Kansas City could be up 21-3, right? And the other team could come back. Like, it's very much a possibility. But I don't think it ever gets there. It just seems like a weird line, which makes me think I must be wrong on it. But I'm going to lean with that one. Under 14.5, plus 100 too. No juice on the largest lead in the game.
Yeah, I like this one as well. I find it very difficult to believe that a lead would be extended by more than 14 points. Like, I like that extra hook there to turn it into a 3-score game. And I'm with you. Technically it could be a 2-score game if, 2 touchdowns with two-point conversions.
Yeah, very much.
I mean, really, I'm not going to sit there and bank on that. I agree. I don't think either team blows anybody out. I think somebody could jump out to a 10-point lead. I think somebody could jump out to a 13-point lead or a 14-point lead. But beyond that, I mean, you're dealing with 2 offenses who know how to score. And you know what? Listen, as great as Tampa's defensive numbers look on paper right now, they still were really roughshod in the second half of the season. So we know that Kansas City has some defensive deficiencies. And we've seen the shoddy play of some of the Tampa Bay defense in the second half of the year. So I saw you sent me this prop. I'm a big fan of it as well. I'll probably bet it as well.
Okay. Do you want to go with one more of yours? Or do you want me to keep going? Up to you.
Yeah, go do more with you because you've got some interesting one. Do the jersey number one. I got to hear the jersey number.
Yeah. So one that we're not going to mention here, by the way, is Byron Pringle under 1.5 receptions because it's not available everywhere. I do like that one. For those of you who are just going on leans, if you could find it, I like it. But I didn't want to do it here because I didn't see it everywhere. Okay, so this one is an interesting one, and the jersey number to score the first touchdown. So the jersey number would be under 17.5. You know what? Before we started, I had the list. I think I deleted it by accident. But there are so many possibilities for somebody to score that is wearing a jersey number under 17.5. I was shocked in this one, Howard. And it's basically plus money. Of course, Sammy Watkins is involved in that. Mecole Hardman is also involved in that, both for Kansas City.
Tyreek Hill wears number 10.
Tyreek Hill also for Kansas City. Like, I don't know. I guess I was just banking on Kansas City. I think Robinson also, the wide receiver for the Chiefs as well. And there was even someone on Tampa that I noticed too.
Well, because Mike Evans wears number 13. Chris Godwin wears number 14.
Right. So
the only way you'd be in trouble there is you're in trouble with Gronk, Kelsey, and Fournette.
Right. I don't know. I went
Edwards
the numbers. Unfortunately, I don't have them all in front of me right now. I gave you some, Howard. Thank you for giving me the Tampa Bay ones. But yes, that is one that I liked considerably, under 17.5. The number of the jersey player that scores first.
Which I'm fine with because I've got Mike Evans for an anytime touchdown, baby. And listen, if he scores the first one and I settle this prop nicely, then fine. I'm good with that. But I've got Mike Evans with an anytime touchdown at plus 110. And I mean, listen, we heard it in the beginning of the season, right? Everybody was like, oh, it's going to be Chris Godwin. He's going to be the new Julian Edelman. And, Brady can't throw it deep and he doesn't have the arm strength for that. And blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, Mike Evans now with a career high 13 touchdowns in the regular season and 2 touchdowns in 3 playoff games right now. So
Yeah, and look
Come on.
for Evans with me. I'm fine with a touchdown. I'm probably out on any of his numbers for the game, like stats and there are some people who think he's going to catch like a jump ball for like 50 yards because they've tried it the last two times that they've played. I don't know. I feel like Evans is fading in the NFL, but look, they get the ball in the one, they throw it to him every single time. So I think it's a good bet at plus 110.
I like it. I like it. So, all right. So I piggybacked off of that one there for you with the jersey
Okay.
number. What else you got?
Yep, over 7.5 receptions for Travis Kelce. This is as good as any that I would give you. I see. I was looking at his receiving yards, and it was pushing 100. And then I thought about it, and I'm like, he could catch 8 balls for 60 yards. He could catch 8 for 80. And but he's the over is coming in on every game that he plays as far as receptions are concerned. And so I don't ever bank on yards, but I bank on targets and catches. So this to me is I'm very much even in these 8 on overs and unders. I'm more of an under person in these than I am an over. But I think he'll see a ton of targets in this one. He's been the primary receiver. It's not like anybody's been hurt that's come back. So I think Kelce catches probably 9 passes or 10. There are some that feel if that happens, look out for him maybe being the Super Bowl MVP. Of course, Mahomes was the year before. Well, it's a little bit of a stretch for me probably, but I'll go over 7.5 catches, receptions for the tight end, Travis Kelce.
All right. Well, I'll look at his teammate, Sammy Watkins, on the comeback trail here. I like the over on Sammy Watkins receptions. It's 3.5, right? And that's plus 107 over on DraftKings. And listen, you look at Sam. Listen, I get it. Sammy hasn't been, he hasn't been healthy. He hasn't played in a few weeks. I get that. But when you look at what Sammy does while he's in the game, and you figure the fact that, Tyreek Hill will probably see a lot of bracket coverage. They'll focus heavily on Travis Kelce early on. That I feel like Sammy Watkins could end up being a little bit of an early play for Pat Mahomes. And listen, you look at some of his game logs where he has played, and I think it's he's hit the over on this prop in 5 out of 6 or 4 out of 6 of his last games. I mean, it's fine. Give me 4 receptions. I'll take that over and over again with him. I'm kind of digging on Sammy Watkins a lot.
Yeah, and look, Watkins, you're getting plus on anyone on the Chiefs. You got to take advantage of it. So
his numbers in the his number in the playoffs last year also, sorry to interrupt, his numbers in the playoffs last year were also really, really good. Really good.
So when he's healthy, Howard, he's a must bet on everything. It's just the health, and that's my only fear is in this game. You see him come out of the game for a second and you're done, and that's what
put that energy out.
The other overs and somebody that I believe will have a good game. His props also. I like mentioning it because those people who watch the live stream, I just mentioned the one on Pringle, the other receiver that's not available in some spots. Look, if you're going to the Westgate in Vegas, he's available, but not everybody has a site. Is the receiver Johnson on Tampa Bay?
Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, I think this kid next year is, if Brady is back, I assume he will be, is going to be it won't be, there's no sleepers anymore in fantasy, but I really like this kid a lot. He didn't play at all the first 5 weeks of the season, and then all of a sudden started to come on. There's not a ton of possibilities for him out there, but if you do see any in terms of the yards, not the receptions, but the yards, and it's on the very low end, he's somebody that I would consider. I think he may end up being somewhat of a story. I like him more than Brown in this game, him over Antonio Brown. Okay, quarterback to be sacked first. I think I pretty much illustrated earlier that it has nothing to do with mobility or just really anything else. Tom Brady has been sacked a lot in the Super Bowl. It just has happened. Tom Brady has not won every game in the Super Bowl. It must feel like it, but against Atlanta, against the Giants, he has taken some sacks, and I believe that he will be the first quarterback sacked. If you're saying, Craig, that sounds like a guess, well, look, some of these are kind of guesses. There's really no data to support who is going to fall down on the offensive line and then he's going to get sacked. And you could say, well, Craig, what about the offensive line with the Chiefs? Don't they have those guys out? Yes, I understand they do completely, and they have Shaq Barrett and they have JPP. I get it. But you're getting plus here. You're not laying minus 130 or on the other side. I'm going to go with Brady to be sacked first. Again, we're down to like prop 8 now, 7. We're starting to guess a little bit, and that's one that I'm gonna guess on at plus 100 that Brady is actually the one that gets sacked first.
And I'm fine with that one too. I agree with you. I do. I definitely do. I like the rollouts for Pat Mahomes a lot better. He doesn't take as many sacks, or hasn't taken. Brady wasn't sacked very often during the regular season.
No,
but we have seen it now here in the latter part of the season. They're here in the playoffs.
And he never sacked during the regular season ever as a quarterback, and then they get to the Super Bowl, and then the teams that play against him realize this is the only way we're going to win the game. So if we're going to go down, let's blitz, and I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. My last one here that I was going to contribute, this is also kind of piggybacking on your whole Tyler Johnson thing, who you like besides, over Antonio Brown.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, listen, I'm fine with that. It supports mine even more. Like, now mine could blow up on one pass, no doubt about it, but Scotty Miller, 20.5 receiving yards. I like the under here at plus 100, because if you go back and you look, Scotty Miller, when Antonio Brown is on the field, Miller's a ghost. Like, you don't see anything. And he's been on the under on this prop in almost every game that he and Antonio Brown have been, on the field together. So, yeah, I mean, is it possible? You saw Scotty Miller catch that touchdown pass last week against Green Bay. Could he end up catching a 25-yarder and just screw me on this prop? Yeah, of course he could. But again, if you're loving Tyler Johnson this much, and I've seen Scotty Miller do bupkis when Antonio Brown is on the field, I mean, what kind of snaps is this kid going to see here in the Super Bowl? Like, that's just, if you're going with a 3 wide receiver set, it's Evans, it's Godwin, and then it's either Brown or Johnson. If it's a 4 wide receiver set, it's Brown and Johnson. Scotty Miller's not going to log a whole lot of time here, I think. So for plus 100, I'll take that under.
Yeah, this is of the 4 you presented, this is my second favorite behind the score total. And the reason why is that this is a pretty solid fade based on the game that he had last week. Like, you have to be a pretty poor coach to not look at that play that they tried the previous week and identify to say, hey, look, this is not something that we're going to let happen when this game begins on Sunday night. So I think it's a pretty good fade coming off the last game, in addition to, as you mentioned, with Antonio Brown playing. So, I mean, certainly Miller could have a catch in this game, maybe even 2. But the only way he goes over this is one of those bombs. So, yeah. In my opinion.
One for 15, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. And then finally, we'll cap it off here, and then we'll give our pick. I assume we're going to give our pick. So the total interceptions, I have over 1.5 plus 120. Again, now that we're 30 minutes into doing this, you have to understand if you go back and hit rewind, use the first few. And these are some guesses here at the end. I mean, listen, you could watch other people's shows. They could tell you they love 50 props. I'm not going to be one of those people. I vision the game. I see Brady throwing 3 interceptions last week. I saw Mahomes in a couple of games. They didn't cover 7 games in a row. He was throwing some interceptions. I'm thinking to myself, is it possible that each quarterback could throw 1? It seems more than possible. I feel like it's probable in this game. So it's plus 120. Mahomes in general doesn't throw interceptions. Brady's been more prone this year. Brady never 2 interceptions in a Super Bowl or a playoff game. I mean, that's for sure. That doesn't happen. But he doesn't need to get 2. He just needs to have 1. And then Mahomes would need to have 1 too. So this is the last one of all the ones we're reviewing, but over 1.5 interceptions on this one.
I love it. Beautiful. All right. So there you go, guys. It's 13 props that we've given you right there. Like Craig said, yeah, go to the beginning. Rewind, get those early ones in there, and then kind of piece it out after that. All right. Spread is Chiefs by 3. The over-under, you said 55.5. I keep seeing it at 56.
Yeah, you're probably you. I looked this on my show earlier today. It was
now 56.5 again.
Yeah, it was 56.5 down to 55.5. It sounds like that range of possibilities is between 55.5. No, yes, 55.5 and 56.5. So depending on what you want to do, if you shop it, you're going to find something that gives you what you want. If you want to go under, then find your 56.5. If you want to go over, find your 55.5. You could even buy a half point on some of these sites to 55 or down to 56 and then bet the over. Well, look, the last few years, this has not been my proudest moment picking the winner of the Super Bowl. I got to tell you, I was on like an unbelievable run of picking the game right. And then ever since taking Atlanta and Tom Brady came back I thought this was the bet of my life, taking Atlanta and then not even cover that game. I mean, it was misery. So
do you want? Can I tell you how significant that game is for me? Because that year was the year that Atlanta signed Alex Mack, their center.
Mm-hmm.
And I said when they signed Alex Mack, which was in like May or June, I was like, that's the piece Atlanta needs. Atlanta's going to Super Bowl this year. Atlanta's winning the Super Bowl. I said it on Sirius XM. I wrote it down, everything. I was all set. And then I put money on them to win the Super Bowl as well, like real early on. And I was riding so high. And I'll tell you flat out, it is without a doubt my least favorite Super Bowl of all time. Because I lost on that because of Brady.
It was just bad beats. We laugh about them, and you and I do this show. We do this 20 weeks in a row, and we cry, we laugh, we text. We have a blast the whole season when we lose, right? We're like, oh my gosh, what a terrible loss that was. What a great win. That's part of the fun, but not in the Super Bowl. Like, you want to feel like you won. You're on the right side. Atlanta was the right side in that game up until the last second. Ugh, that game still burns me, and I have not been good since then. I'm just being transparent with it. Look, I'm sure you can watch other videos and live streams. They can tell you they've won the last 15 Super Bowls. That's fine. Go watch that. I did take San Francisco last year too. So I'm going to try to get on the right side this year. I'm going to take Kansas City minus the points, -3. And it doesn't feel great. It feels ugly. It feels like Brady's going to burn me here. Before the season, I had really good leans on a lot of the totals, except for the Lions. But a lot of the totals and division winners, and I feel really good about my analysis getting to this point. But the one thing that I did not get right, even though we took the Bucks at some point during the season on these streams, we were on and against them, doing fine, whatever we were. But I did not think that you could just literally bring in Tom Brady and Gronk and Antonio Brown and like win a Super Bowl. And part of me thinks like it's going to happen. It's an extremely hard game to call, but I am gonna lean 3 and lean on Kansas City. I don't have a great feel for the total. I prefer to just stick with the props as opposed to that. But your point that you brought up, if I did have a lean on the total, the point that you brought up about first quarter score total under 10, I do like the under in the first half for the outcomes possibility of the totals if we were doing that. But Howard, I'm gonna lean Kansas City -3 in the Super Bowl.
I am going to lean Kansas City -3 as well. I mean, listen, as Tom Brady, man of destiny, whatever you want to call it, it has been an amazing story. It's a phenomenal narrative. It really, really is. I just don't see them stopping this Chiefs offense. I really have a hard time seeing that happen. And so slow start or whatever, we've seen it. Like, we've seen Kansas City turn around after a slow start and just light up the night with points left and right. So, I if I'm going to throw down a prediction here, I'm with you. I'm not a big fan of betting the over under here, the total, but I will say I actually, if I'm gonna have to predict it,
sure,
34-27 Chiefs.
Okay.
To cover the spread, it hits the over. I think that, again, Tampa Bay tries to control the clock early in the game. I think maybe in the third quarter they try to do it again. But, I mean, listen, I think Pat Mahomes has no issue scoring in this game. And at some point, Brady is going to have to speed things up. And they're going to have to, start with the shootout. So that's where I'm at right now. Again, I think it's Kansas City as far as, laying the points. But yeah, I'm gonna say the over, and I'm actually probably in the minority on that. A lot of people are actually just tilting to the under in a major way.
Yeah, it's going to be a weird vibe to have a Super Bowl half empty, and I know the crowd isn't usually a factor anyway in those games, but yeah, it's definitely going to be different. Real quick before we end, are you thinking, in your opinion, like we talk about, where you close your eyes and you're predicting, do you think that the score is 27 all at the end of the game and Chiefs win, or do you think the Chiefs are up and Brady comes back to make it 34-27? Just curious. Have you thought about that at all, or?
I really haven't thought about it at all. I kind of feel like this is going to be where Brady puts it in the end zone to make it 34-27, and then he gets the ball, 2 minutes left, and it's
Gotcha.
like, is Brady magic going to happen? It's team of destiny, that whole thing, and
Okay. Yeah, I'm just
fingers
curious.
crossed Brashad Breeland turns around with the interception that puts your prop on the over.
Yeah, I was curious from your perspective if you thought that we would be watching a tied Super Bowl at 27.
No,
With like 2
probably
minutes left.
not.
'Cause
But
then-
listen, I think it stays. I think it stays, fairly close the entire time. Like I really do. I think that, you're looking at Brady bringing it to 27. I really don't. I think 34-20 would be the highest. Would be that the biggest differential in the score for these two teams, and that stays under your prop as well.
yeah. So that's what I got. That will, I guess, put a bow on our football season. And before we go, I just want to thank you, Howard, because it's been another fun season. I know that our Super Contest results started off really good. We got really deep into the year thinking we had a chance to cash it. We didn't. But of all the things that I do, and I know that you do a lot, this is one of, if not the most enjoyable things that I do throughout the week. And I really, especially during the regular season, I really look forward to doing our football live streams, thinking through the lines. We really, in a tough year, I think, made the most of it. And we didn't do college this year, which kind of hurt. But if you'll have me back next year, I'm hoping that we could jump back into the college one and do the pro one again. And again, thanks all year once again for having me on here with you and doing it. I appreciate it.
Well, Craig, it doesn't really end here. I mean, football ends here, but I'd love for you to continue these live streams as we talk MLB wins totals,
Sure.
other futures for MLB,
No, for sure. It is the end of the football season, and I know that you just took a week off. I'm taking a week off next week too. But yeah, no doubt we'll do that, and maybe we've done the NCAA tournament basketball tournament too in the past, and
Exactly.
maybe that's something that we'll do as well. But I really enjoy it. Love handicapping the games for better or for worse. Love sitting through those Sunday games and texting you throughout the games. We're the best. We're the worst. What are we doing? I mean, it's so
those
much
are the
fun.
best texts. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is fun, especially when we're winning. It's like, did you see that? Oh my gosh, like we got lucky, or oh, what a terrible loss, So that's what I love most about the football season, and then I love the most this Super Bowl because it's over. Like I get to the point where
Yeah,
I just want it to be like, as much as I look forward to it because I know it pays all our bills, but I look forward to it being done so I could just focus on baseball, which is coming. And you're right, we will absolutely do the win totals and maybe some college basketball as well. But I guess that's it for our football season.
That is going to do it for us. Big thanks, as always, to John Impemba for producing for us here. Big thanks to everybody over at Fantasy and Wager Alarm. For Craig Mish, I'm Howard Bender. This has been the Wager Alarm live stream. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everybody. Good luck to you on your props and your picks. We'll catch you next time.